Are you finishing too fast and wondering why this frustrating problem is happening to you? Perhaps you've been scouring the internet looking for the solutions, but you've found nothing that has worked for you so far. Well, today is your lucky day because not only have I solved this issue for myself, but I've also guided hundreds of other men to do the same as a sex and relationship coach. My name's Jasper, and in this video, I'm going to be explaining exactly why this issue is happening to you, as well as how you can start solving it right now with just 3 simple steps. Before we dive into those steps, I've put together a free resource called the Legendary Lover Blueprint, and it's a simple proven guide to help you cure premature ejaculation and drastically boost your confidence in the bedroom. You can grab it right now. The link's in the description below. This is the information that I wish somebody had told me 10 years ago when I first started looking for the answers to this problem, because man, it took me so long to figure all this stuff out. And it's actually not that hard to solve once you have all of the puzzle pieces together. So I'm going to start here by explaining the root cause of early ejaculation. And this is going to give a lot more context for the solutions that I'm going to give you, and everything's going to make much more sense. So fast ejaculation is a symptom of a body that is both physically tense and emotionally stressed. The example that I like to give here is to imagine your body is like a pressure cooker. It can build and hold tension, but if the pressure inside builds up too much, eventually that release valve gets triggered and steam comes out. Well, your body is much the same. As anxiety and stress and sexual tension build inside of you, it's like we're increasing the heat and the pressure inside of that cooker. Now, the pelvic floor, the muscles at the base of your body, are like that release valve that lets off the steam. But if your body is full of anxiety, stress, and you're very tense and tight, then the internal pressure inside the system is already very high, and there isn't much additional space left over for anything else. And as we all know, sex is pretty hot, pretty spicy. So when we add more of that hot, spicy energy into the mix, the pressure quickly peaks and your body hits the emergency release valve and you ejaculate very quickly. So your body isn't sabotaging you. I know I used to beat myself up a lot and think that there was something fundamentally wrong with me. But your body is actually trying to protect you by rapidly reducing the amount of stress and tension inside your system, which is actually pretty genius when you think about it. But unfortunately for so many of us men, that means we end up finishing way too fast, which leads us to feeling embarrassment, and we feel ashamed, and maybe our lover is disappointed or sexually frustrated, and it's a bit of a mess. And contrary to the mainstream sort of medical solutions that we find out there, the real fix to this isn't numbing creams. And it's definitely not thinking about your grandmother, because those things are just band-aids. They never get to the root of the problem. So with that said, now I'm going to share with you guys the 3 most important things that you need to learn in order to last longer and stop finishing so fast. And step number 1 is all about the way that you breathe. Now, this insight came to me when I was making love one day and I was trying not to come too quickly. And my lover noticed and she said, you're holding your breath, right? You need to relax, babe. You need to breathe. And she was right. When we are afraid of an outcome that we don't want, we often hold our breath. We contract, we brace. And once I became aware that I was doing this, I noticed that I was actually doing this all the time. So we need to think of the breath as one of the main dials that we can use to adjust the pressure in the system up and down. If your breath is very short, shallow, or restricted, it's like we're turning the heat and the pressure up high. And if your body tenses, your pelvic floor is going to lock up. And the only quick way that your nervous system knows how to relieve this tension is through rapid ejaculation. So instead, what you want to do is focus on slow, deep, diaphragmatic breathing that actually goes all the way down into the pelvic bowl at the bottom. And deep breathing is like we're gently releasing the pressure valve, slowly lowering the anxiety and calming your nervous system down. It helps relax your pelvic floor. It helps you stay flexible and loose, and it prevents that tight emergency release response that triggers ejaculation. So we actually just want to do that by becoming aware of the breath. We need to. You can place a hand on your belly. You can even do this with me right now. You can breathe deeply and feel how your belly expands. We actually want the lower back and the ribs to expand, and we want the breath to even feel like it's expanding the pelvic floor bowl, the area at the very bottom. You want to keep your breaths slow, rhythmic, and full. And if you can practice this and get good at it, you'll start to replicate this pattern and do this in self-pleasure and see if you can maintain that rhythm and test yourself, and start observing your breathing patterns throughout the day. And every time you catch yourself breathing shallow or restricted or unconsciously, try to bring yourself back to a deeper breath. And over time, this is going to get easier and easier to apply in lovemaking. If you can make breathing your anchor, it's going to help you to remain much more grounded, much more present, and most importantly, much more relaxed, even as the excitement and your arousal starts to build. Now, better breathing mechanics are absolutely crucial, because without it, you're not going to be able to master the next vital step. When I first started trying to fix my PE, I was told to do Kegels. That's the most common advice that we see on the internet, and so I did hundreds of them every day. But at a certain point, I noticed that my PE wasn't actually getting better. It was actually getting worse. And that's because I was training my pelvic floor to become stronger. But just like a bodybuilder who builds huge muscle, I also lost my mobility. And that's when I understood that I needed to balance the strength with relaxation and mobilization, so I could become more like a gymnast, strong, but also very flexible. I figured out that I could do reverse Kegels and teach my pelvic floor to expand and relax, and this led to my first major breakthrough. Once I developed a relaxed, flexible pelvic floor, I was suddenly able to handle sexual stimulation with calm control rather than with anxiety and tension. And I still remember the first time I felt pleasure without the fear of ejaculating in the first 2 seconds, and it was absolutely life-changing. So in order to train your pelvic floor effectively, we need 3 basic things. The first one is Kegels. So we're going to learn how to contract the pelvic floor muscles and to hold them. And this just helps you to become aware of these muscles in the first place. It's going to help you to notice when they're tensed or relaxed, and we can do that by actively engaging them and then relaxing them. The next most important thing we need to learn are reverse Kegels, and this is the opposite of the Kegel contraction. It's more like a relaxation and an expansion of the pelvic floor. So we can gently push down like we're relaxing or releasing the pressure and essentially opening the valve. We actually need to train these muscles to loosen and relax, and this is going to give us so much more space and ability to handle stimulation and pleasure. And the last piece that we need here is pelvic mobility exercises. So we need to engage movements that actually teach our hips to open and create more space. These can be things like the deep squat, hip circles, pelvic tilts, all of these things that are going to help us to improve our overall pelvic mobility and restore healthy flexibility and function to the pelvic floor. And now I'll share the last piece of the puzzle here to connect the breathing and the pelvic floor together. This piece clicked into place for me when I started educating myself about the nervous system. So think of your nervous system like the temperature setting on our pressure cooker. We have 2 primary modes of cooking here. The sympathetic mode, which is our fight-flight response. This is like turning the heat up high, very fast heart rate, shallow breath, tense muscles, your thoughts will be racing. It's your body's emergency mode, fight-flight. The other mode is the parasympathetic mode. This is responsible for rest and relaxation. This is like we're turning the heat right down low onto a simmer. The heart rate slows, the breath deepens, our muscles relax, and our mind becomes clear and calm. It's your body's mode for feeling safe, present, and connected. So now drill this important point into your brain. Ejaculation is a function of the sympathetic nervous system, so it's part of the fight-flight system. So the more stressed, the more overwhelmed we are, the faster we're going to ejaculate. And because your penis has the highest density of nerve endings in your entire body, it's highly influenced by the state of your nervous system. So if you're stuck in fight flight, as many of us these days are, your body is highly stressed and it's going to find the fastest way of reducing that tension, which is ejaculation. So what we want to do is we actually want to practice consciously shifting ourselves into the parasympathetic mode. We're going to train our body to naturally stay more relaxed and in control, both outside of the bedroom, so it becomes easier when we want to apply that inside of the bedroom and the temperature and the heat and the spiciness is turned up high. So here's exactly how you can train yourself to do this. The first step here is awareness. We have to start noticing our body's stress signals. Are your shoulders tense? Is your breathing shallow? Are your thoughts racing? Maybe you're clenching your jaw. I notice that's something that I do a lot when I'm stressed. My jaw starts to get tight. And this means that your body is in fight-flight mode. Simply noticing this is the first critical step, because for most of my life, this was a very unconscious process. Deep breathing techniques also help a lot here. As we mentioned before already, all of this stuff is very connected and ties into and relates to one another. Even just a few minutes a day of slowing your breathing down can really help, especially if we apply this before intimacy. We try to soothe and calm your nervous system. And the third part here is daily relaxation rituals. So incorporating activities like meditation, slow stretching, gentle yoga, even just simply walking in nature regularly is going to help you to reset your nervous system and teach you to be more in the parasympathetic zone. So if you can integrate these 3 practical steps, the breath, the pelvic floor relaxation, and the nervous system regulation into your life consistently, you're going to slowly teach your body and reprogram yourself to develop a new relationship to arousal and pleasure. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat this for you guys. These steps are simple, but they do take time to implement, and it's very easy to lose hope and give up during this process. For many years, I stopped and started and even gave up entirely on finding the solutions because I didn't have a plan or a process that I could actually trust. I didn't know what I was doing. And that's exactly why I created the Legendary Lover online course. I've essentially mapped out all of these practices in depth with easy to follow routines that you can follow along and stay consistent until you reach those points of breakthrough. These methods have been validated by hundreds of men at this stage. So if that's something you're looking for, just hit the link in the description and start your journey right now. And lastly, remember guys, sexual mastery isn't about becoming somebody that you're not. It's actually about becoming more comfortable, more confident, and more connected to who you really are. So solving PE was actually a gateway for me. It unlocked way deeper intimacy, way more confidence, and it helped me to actually create the thriving relationship that I have today. And if I can do it, you can absolutely do it too. You just need the right systems, practices, and structure to help you get there. Now, obviously, there is a lot more to be said on this topic. And if you want to hear my full story and the journey that I've been on and the exact processes that I teach for healing this issue once and for all with a lot more depth, just check out this video right here to learn even more.